For more on what this means, I'm joined by Dr. Hans Despain. He's the chair of the economics department at Nichols College. Good to have you on the show. Explain to our international audience what hitting the debt ceiling means.
Yeah, so thanks, Phil. So the Congress has approved a budget for the year, and the expectation is that we can fund it. In 1917, legislation was passed that allowed the federal government, if it chose to put it on credit. So it'd be kind of analogous to my wife telling me, okay, you have $200 to spend each month, and then me deciding whether or not I'm going to take cash out of the bank or put it on a credit card.
Right. Okay. So we've hit our limit to borrow money, which we use to pay for everything from the Postal Service to financing our national debt. And we need Congress, which in this case is the Republicans and the Democrats, to agree on, I guess, approve is the correct word, the increase of the debt ceiling, or else what?
Well, before the else what, which is a big question, I think what's important is the reason why there was a limit put on the capacity for the government to put their spending on a credit card was actually to give some flexibility to the government and to limit the amount of money that wealthy people could make from that debt. And so there was some reason behind it. Probably not very strong reason any longer now that we're in a debt economy. But what are the consequences of it? Well, they're enormous because there's lots and lots of people that are invested in government debt. And if the U.S. government isn't paying its debt, that means that people can lose money on that type of investment, such as bonds and
Right.
others.
But
This is not
this
a
can all be,
government.
but doctor, this can all be fixed if the Republicans and Democrats have an agreement. I mean, I know I'm making it sound very easy, but clearly both sides want some sort of concessions, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah. So the debt limit is different than debt itself. It's a little bit esoteric to get into, I suppose. But that's definitely what the Republicans are doing is trying to bring issues of going into debt. But they've already decided that we could do this spending. So in that sense, it's probably a little misguided. In one sense, because it can cause a uh, credit financial catastrophe. However, there's no doubt that their intention is to highlight the massive amount of debt, which is about 120, 125% of GDP right now.
Okay, so if that's the case, and I'm an everyday consumer, as I assume you are as well, and many of the people watching, how does that impact us, and do we need to worry?
Well, I'm encouraged by Senator McConnell's statements today. He says that absolutely not, we will not default. The U.S. has never defaulted, and we won't now. And he's predicting early this year we'll come to an agreement. So that's a pretty good signal that probably will have enough Republicans agree to raise the debt ceiling, which again I will emphasize is different because there will be another point in time when the next budget negotiations come up for the Republicans now controlling the House to uh, debate whether or not we should cut spending.
Right, and you see, we're faced with a possible recession. Many businesses are doing layoffs. People are at home are tightening their budgets. Corporate America is tightening their budgets. I mean, some would argue that shouldn't the U.S. government also potentially tighten their budget?
Yeah, again, I think that's different than having already agreed on the budget in the debt ceiling on whether we should put it on credit or not credit. Uh, but yes, it's a perfectly valid debate to have, and that's the direction we're headed. I'm of the opinion we're in a recession. We won't know that for sure for probably about 3 to 6 months. But we are in a recession, which puts this little gamut that's being played with the debt ceiling in especially dangerous situation.
What do you think happens in the short term, Doctor?
Well, I think the Republicans are going to get a feel on what sort of this is a political game they're playing more than an economic. It will get passed. It's going to be solved, as McConnell says, in my estimation. But the Republicans are going to want to know whether or not they're going to get some political traction for the next election by challenging Biden and claiming that it's the Democrats' irresponsible spending, which is what both sides do, depending on who's in power. So that's what they're trying to figure out right now. And Democrats are betting on the idea that Republicans are going to be blamed for jeopardizing financial markets.
Yep, always about money and politics. Doctor, always good
Correct.
to have you on. Thank you very much.
Excellent.